Rick, the part we showed before the commercial, where there's Lavrov saying, and he's told that Donald Trump has issued a statement claiming that he talked to him and told him, don't you dare interfere in our election. And Lavrov says, oh, no, we never even discussed it.
Well, Lavrov is the pro of pros. By the way, if you were writing the screenplay version of the Trump presidency and you said, on the day that President Trump was indicted by the House on impeachment charges, on the day that the Inspector General released a report that saying the Russia investigation was fine, that he was meeting with the Russian foreign minister, you say that's just too unlikely. It couldn't possibly happen. And the fact is, he has no NSC, nobody to say, sir, I don't think it's such a good idea for you to meet with the foreign minister. And by the way, why is a head of state meeting with the Russian foreign minister? Vladimir Putin doesn't meet with Mike Pompeo when he comes to Moscow. Right. So it's very curious and very strange. Lavrov has played all of these guys. He's lasted for years and years. And they're sort of toying with Trump. I mean, they do not admit under any circumstances that they interfered in the U.S. election at all. They won't even go there 1 inch.
But like Pompeo today, standing beside him, did say, you know, I said, don't interfere in the election. I gave him that warning. So Lavrov couldn't stand there and say, no, he didn't say that to me. Lavrov wouldn't even do Trump the favor of saying, yes, he did say that.
You know, they don't.
And by the way, it's very unlikely Trump said it, right? I mean, like,
yes,
less than 1% chance that he said it.
Yeah, so they don't want to seem like Trump's errand boy. The other thing that's interesting, by the way, is Sergei Lavrov is absolutely fluent in English. He speaks better English than the president of the United States. The fact that he did that news conference in Russian also shows that he wants to distance himself from the U.S. a little bit. He wants to seem like he's Russian rather than a crony of Donald Trump.
And when Lavrov and Trump are in that room, what possible agenda could they have today?
You know, what's so strange, and you know this, of course, Lawrence, is that a bilateral with a Russian foreign minister and a U.S. president, this is prepared for months and weeks, and you have deliverables, and you have all of these things. I mean, Trump is just not prepared for this. He just kind of wings it and brings stuff up. The thing about the Russians is they are ultra prepared. They know exactly what they want to get out of every meeting. And so one reason that it's scary that we don't know what happened there is we don't know what Lavrov extracted from Trump in that meeting.
And it's possible that Trump doesn't even know what Lavrov extracted from him, right? The way that those exchanges go.
Yes. And again, I'm not exactly sure what it does for the Russians. It makes Trump still look like a toady, like he's on a
Well, they love going in that room when they know that the president of the Ukraine is not allowed in that room.
Yeah, exactly. And they love having Trump meeting with the foreign minister. He's not even opening the door to Putin. He's foreign minister.
And surely Trump doesn't understand that status imbalance that he's engaging in.
Apparently.
Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on the button below for more from The Last Word and the rest of MSNBC.